Hi, I'm Michael Smith. I'm the writer and director of Rendezvous in Chicago.
I'm Clare Cooney. I'm one of the lead actors in Rendezvous in Chicago, and I wrote and directed the short film Runner, which we'll play right before Rendezvous.
Rendezvous in Chicago is a romantic comedy feature film that features three stories that focus on three different couples, all of whom are at a pivotal moment in their relationship. The first story is about a young man approaching a woman in a wine bar. She's a stranger to him, and she's played by the great Clare Cooney. And he finds that he gets into a little more than he bargained for. The second story is about a guy who wants to propose to his boyfriend of several months, and that's about the middle of a relationship. And the third story is about a young woman coming home from work early and finding her live-in boyfriend in bed with another woman. So each of these stories corresponds to a different phase in a relationship, and they each correspond to a different phase of a narrative. The first story is about the beginning, the second is about the middle, and the third is about the end.
Runner is a short film about a woman who witnesses a violent incident and must decide between intervention and her own safety. It's a quiet thriller. I made it about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and honestly, this is my first film as a filmmaker. I wrote, directed, edited it, acted in it, the whole shebang. And I, to some extent, was just inspired to write the story of a woman who witnesses something that is hard to live with, and it has really intense repercussions in her life. I actually wrote it before the whole Me Too movement got momentum, but obviously these kinds of issues of exploring the uncomfortable power dynamics that exist in society and intimidation and feeling like you're exposed or in a vulnerable position as a woman, those things have always existed even before the Me Too movement got its name. That's kind of why it began. So this film kind of speaks to something that's really relevant right now, and I'm really grateful to my incredible cast and crew that jumped on in and helped me make it.
I think the biggest challenge facing independent filmmakers today is probably not so much getting your film made as getting the film seen, because it's actually more inexpensive today to make a really good looking film than it ever has been. So everyone's making films, but it's really hard to get yours to kind of break through to a wider audience. So I think the challenge for independent filmmakers is, do I put it on the web?
Right.
Do I try and get into festivals? Do I try and get into theaters? And with Rendezvous in Chicago, we've had a healthy festival run. We've been accepted into 10 festivals and counting. But we're also playing independent theaters around the country, like the Gene Siskel Film Center in Chicago and the Maple in Detroit.
Woo-hoo!
And Spectacle in Brooklyn. So I personally am a firm believer in the big screen experience, and I make films that I really want people to see on a big screen. That's how I compose the image. So I'm really grateful to everyone who is willing to come out and take a chance on a small film by an independent filmmaker.
For Runner, we put it online. I mean, short films don't have as much in the way of distribution, which is why I'm so excited to be playing at a theater and playing. I love playing before features. I think it's a great way to show short films. And we played at 15 film festivals, which was really incredible. We've had a great run. And I put it online on a YouTube channel called Amaletto, and it was really great. We received 25,000 views in just like 3 days, 4 days. And that was really exciting, and it keeps going, it keeps growing. And so that exposure is wonderful. But I think that's correct, that when you're making films, you're not making them to exist in a bubble. You're making them because you want them to be seen. And so that's why we're so excited to bring this to different communities and cities and all that kind of stuff. It's definitely a challenge. Another challenge is also just making things on a low budget. I mean, Chicago is a great place to do that. My film, its initial production budget was $900. And I was learning a lot as I went, because it was my first time doing all this stuff. But it was an adventure, and I'm so glad that we took the chance and did the film that way, because I think if you're not going to do something low budget, then it's just not going to be made, at least at the beginning. For me, like, I'm such a new filmmaker, and you have, what, three features now?
3 features.
So, like, it's like, that's how you grow. And so that's definitely an obstacle, but it's a worthwhile one.
The themes that I wanted to explore in Rendezvous in Chicago specifically are relationships and how couples communicate within a relationship. The way people talk at the very beginning of a relationship is very different than how they talk after they've been together for a few months.
What? No.
And then if they've been together for a couple of years, the comfortability level is very, very different. And all three of my films are comedies. All three of the shorts within Rendezvous are comedies, but the genre of comedy changes depending on where the couple is. So, for instance, the first story that Clare Cooney is in is by far the fastest paced, and it's very reminiscent of the classic Hollywood screwball comedies of the 30s and 40s, where you have, a man and a woman with really rapid fire dialogue, because you have a kind of battle of the sexes going on. And Claire absolutely crushes her dialogue in that opening sequence. But then later on, as the second story begins, you see a couple who's more comfortable with each other. The pacing slows down to not to a slow pace, but I'd say to a moderate pace, because the couple is more comfortable. Right. And then the third story is absolutely crazy.
Yes, it is. No spoilers there.
Exactly.
This idea kind of arrived to me. I was on a jog on a really beautiful fall day in Chicago, and I had my headphones in and was really in the zone. And then I turned the corner, and everything in the air kind of changed and shifted, because I saw something that was a little bit disturbing down the alley from me. And nothing happened to me in that alley, but I thought something could have happened. And I've been in situations where things like that, like things have gone wrong. And as a woman, in particular, you have to always be really, really careful about where you are and who's around you. And you kind of have to have that spidey sense really heightened. And I was really interested in the fact that I could be in one really beautiful mood 1 second with this song pumping in my ears, and then the next second my mood shifted entirely with the same songs playing in my ears. That was honestly the inspiration for the film, exploring that kind of tonal shift, that really stark kind of spooky shift, and playing with that shift and the way it involves music was something I really wanted to play with. And so then the themes kind of arose from there. The themes of needing to be careful and being intimidated or fearful in your everyday life as a woman, that kind of was a theme that built out of the initial inspiration for the film.
Well, the reaction to Rendezvous in Chicago has been a very pleasant surprise. The film was doing better than I thought that it would, actually, because we made this film on a very low budget. We did it for $20,000, and we also shot it in just 8 days. So out of the festivals we've played so far, we've won 2 Audience Choice Awards. We've also won a couple of Best Comedy Awards. And that's more than I was hoping for, to be honest with you. The reviews have also been very positive. We have a 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes based on 9 reviews, one of which is Richard Roper writing in the Chicago Sun-Times. He said our film was exhilaratingly entertaining. So it's been a nice ride so far.
Absolutely. The reaction to Runner has been similarly really exciting. We played at 15 film festivals, as I said. We won 6 awards across the country. I was nominated for the Filmmaker to Watch Award at the Academy Qualifying Atlanta Film Festival. That was really exciting. And honestly, the most exciting part has been the audience response. People are really scared by the film, which I didn't even intend for it to be that scary, but people are really scared about the film. People said it made their palms sweat and it made them jump. People cried at the film. People are really emotionally involved, and that's been really gratifying to see how passionate people felt about the character and about the story I told. That's just been really exciting for a first film. I didn't necessarily know what to expect at all, and so I feel very lucky and grateful that people are affected by the film.
Yeah, your film is a thriller.
Yes.
My film is a comedy. And I think these are the 2 genres that really provoke a physical response.
Yeah.
So if you see this movie in a theater with people in your movie,
yes,
you can feel people being on the edge of their seats. It is so quiet, you can hear a pin drop. And that's to me the great thing about the theatrical experience
Yeah.
is feeling
So
that
communal.
it's a collective vibe
Yeah.
that is contagious
Yes.
almost. And same thing with comedy, you know,
Yeah.
when people laugh, laughter is contagious. So,
Playing at the Maple is going to be like, is this going to be the first time our films screened together?
no, they screened together at Adirondack, but you weren't
Oh,
there.
I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be really fun to hear everyone just like totally tense and silent, and then they'll be laughing even more, I think, because they've been tense for the first 13 minutes, and then the next hour they get to just like let loose.
Exactly.
It'll be a wild ride.
It'll be cathartic. Well, I'm personally very excited to be coming to the Maple. I really love old movie theaters. In Chicago, we have the great Music Box Theater, and I've been to a lot of, you know, movie palaces around the country. The Tampa Theater is really beautiful, and I've heard that the Maple is an amazing venue. So this is the kind of place I really want, you know, my film to be seen in. And I also want to point out my mother is from Bloomfield Hills,
Which is crazy.
which I did not find out until recently. So she was at this theater as a little girl, and she'll be coming up for the screening, in addition to your family being
Yes.
there. So
That'll be a party.
Yeah,
I'm really excited for Rendezvous in Chicago and Runner to Play at the Maple Theater. I've been going to this theater since I was very young. It's literally 7 minutes from my parents' house in Beverly Hills, and it's going to be really exciting. It's just a beautiful space, and I can't wait to have a lot of family and friends and people from the community there to support the films.
So Rendezvous in Chicago is going to continue to play independent theaters and festivals around the country between now and October. We have a festival screening in October that we can't announce yet. I imagine that will be our final screening, and then after that it will be available to stream, and there will also be a DVD release. I can't reveal the name of the distributor just yet, but we have a deal, and you will be able to see it eventually streaming online.
It's awesome. If you can't make it to the Maple Theater this Tuesday, the 21st at 7 o'clock to see these films, as he said, his film will eventually be online. Runner is already online. It's on a channel called Amuletto. If you Google Runner short film Clare Cooney, it should pop up. And it's been really fun to see the responses and all the different views and comments and all that kind of stuff. But I can't wait to have this film continue to play in a theater setting. I think it's just so much fun to feel everyone's responses and everyone's energy. So if you can't make it, watch it online, but you should try to come.
On social media, my handle is White City Cinema on Twitter and Instagram, and my personal website is whitecitycinema.com. That's the color white, WHITE, City Cinema.
You can find me at Cooney CM on Instagram, and I think that's also my Twitter handle, but maybe it's Claire M. Cooney.
It's Claire M. Cooney.
It's Claire M. Cooney on Twitter, and Cooney CM, my last name, COONEYCM, on Instagram. And you can find out tons about me on my website, claire-cooney.com. As I said, it's my first film as a filmmaker, so I'm mainly an actor, so you'll get to find clips from me on Chicago PD and Steve McQueen's Widows and a couple other fun independent features and TV shows and stuff like that on my website. Thank you so much. Come see the films.